Hello viewers, welcome to Rennthusiast, and if you have found this video because you were trying to learn more about what it costs to sort a 993 after you buy it, then I've got great news for you because I'm going to take you through exactly what it's cost me to get this car right since buying it. This video here is long overdue. You guys have been requesting it for quite a while. I have great news for you. We are now going to get into an update about this 993. In this video, I'm going to take you through an exterior walk around. I'm going to give you a sense for what's changed with the car since I bought it. I'm going to take you through exactly what I spent on the car to get it up to standard, and I'm also going to share with you what the previous owner spent on the car. Before we jump into that though, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this channel and come join our Facebook group, Rennthusiast Air-Cooled Porsche Fans. That group now has 4,400 members in it, and it is all about air-cooled Porsche fanatics sharing insights, technical how-tos, organizing drives with one another. So come check it out if you're on Facebook. Now, let's get into the main event. Okay, here it is, the long overdue, much requested update on my new to me 1995 Porsche 993 911. Car is Grand Prix white with cashmere interior, and I'm going to walk you around. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how this car came to me from an appearance perspective. If you saw my first video on this car, you know that it had a ducktail on it, and it also had RS front splitters. And I had a lot of feedback from you guys to keep the ducktail and keep the splitters. Really, the ducktail was more popular than the splitters. I opted to delete both. I wanted to get this car back to a more original look. That was the vision that I had for the car, and quite frankly, that's why I bought the car, is the originality, particularly the interior, but just the overall condition of the car. So I deleted the front splitters. I also deleted the ducktail, and it has been sold, by the way. Now, let's pause. I really want your feedback on these wheels and that Carrera script. I'm really leaning toward putting the Cup 2 wheels that came with the car back on it. They have brand new tires on them, and then this Carrera sticker, totally mixed emotions on this. I kind of like the way that it adds visual interest to the car, but at the same time, I don't know, man, it's not really period correct for the car. And again, I'm interested in the originality. So where did I find such a clean 993? This car actually belonged to a really good friend of mine, a man that lives in South Carolina. I drive with him periodically over the course of the year, and I actually saw this car in action on a couple of drives that we went on, and they were spirited drives, and this car really held up well. It was reliable. I had a good chance to spend some time around it, and so when he told me that it was available, I decided to jump on it. Came from a trusted source, and I have been very happy with the car. Now, that said, if you guys have been watching my channel, you know that I tend to be fairly OCD in how I want my cars, particularly my air-cooled cars. And this car is no different. I got it, I took it to my mechanic, I had him go through it, and of course the car needed a few things that I'll get into in a moment. You know, the lesson for anybody looking to buy an air-cooled 911, a 993, 964, 3.2 Carrera, whatever, you just need to know that regardless of the documentation on the car, how well kept it was, it's gonna need something depending on your standards. And so this ended up being a fairly robust refurbishment because, again, I'm just that way. Now let's take a look at the interior. In my view, this is one of the strongest points of this car. The car had two long-term owners, and then my friend, who was a relatively short-term owner, he bought it, put a lot of money into it, and ended up moving it along to me. He's doing a back date now, so I think that's what captured his interest. I like a cashmere interior. Some guys don't like this, but look at that carpet, man. By the way, the car has 96, almost 97,000 miles on it. In my view, it presents like a much lower mile car. Engine, car pulls hard, feels great, doesn't leak oil. It was part of the reason I purchased it. I owned another 95 993 Polar Silver that I actually owned when I bought this car, and I sold that to a really good dude. It lives about an hour away, so I can go visit that car if I want. I had a lot of really good times, good adventures in that car. But anyway, that car was very modded. I had done a lot to it. I had dialed it in. It was so good to drive, but I just found myself yearning for a more original condition car.
Car has a Continental head unit, one of my favorites. Sunroof works great. I mean, I just really am super tickled. Again, though, I'm up in the air on the wheels. Known flaws with the car, because no car is perfect. This car has a 100% clean Carfax. However, this front driver's side fender has been replaced. I put a paint meter all over this car. It is consistent, including that front fender. But if you look right there, you've got a DOT tag there indicating that it is new. Needs a new rear wall. I'll show you what that is. What's funny about a rear wall is that in my other 95, that also failed. Got that part sitting over at my mechanics. Also, this deployable spoiler, I actually disabled this on my other car, and I did a video on that process. But even on like kind of a weird, odd, and Porsche nerd level, I missed a functional spoiler. So that was part of the reason that I got drawn to this car. The car does have what a lot of guys refer to as coffee grind noise coming out of the spoiler when it goes up and down. Very common. It's a bearing that goes bad and a little plastic housing, I guess, that contains the motor for the auto deploy. And I have that bearing. I just haven't gotten around to getting that replaced either. So that's something I got to get around to get it exactly where I want it. But I don't know, man. I've kind of cooled off on the idea of taking care of every little thing. As you can see, the suspension's been done. I'll talk about that in a minute, along with costs. I think the stance is sick on this car. Has a little bit of bump steer. I'd love to maybe have my buddy Eric at Sport Purpose Garage handle the suspension, maybe dial that just a little bit. So let me now take you guys through the actual costs. So when my friend bought this car, California car, had been brought out to the East Coast, had a hideous factory stance on it. It was 100% stock. He saw the vision, but he also knew that he wanted to dial it to his taste. And so this is what he did. Okay, I'm gonna start with the items that the previous owner did to get the car right. These are things that, had I bought it in the condition that he bought it in, the things that I would have done. Steve Wong chip, you want that. It wakes the car up. Phone mount, absolutely. That's a Rennline product. It's magnetic in nature. You can stick your phone to it. Fog light delete, just touched on that. Front splitter, deleted that myself, and I still have those parts. If you want them, let me know. Stage 3 exhaust, you got to go with that. I'll let you hear it right now. KW V3 coilovers, essential. Either do the V3s or do the PSS 10s, but either way, you got to do the suspension. Ducktail, I touched on that earlier. I deleted it and I've sold it. MO30s, the sway bar bushings. He took the strut brace off before he sold it. Steering rack brace, you want that with 18-inch wheels. MYO2 wheels, he had to buy those, and he had them refinished in this Vice Gold color. Bluetooth stereo, side, rear, and hood graphics. Short shift kit, that's a Pfister product too, you want that. Control arm bushings, ball joints, steering rack bushings, RS motor mounts, so cool. And OEM sport drop links. So what I did is I took all the prices here, circled everything that I think still add value to the car that I didn't delete. $9,259. So this is what I would have done if I'd have gotten the car in the condition he did. I just think these are all the upgrades you want to do to get a 993 911 dialed in. Let's now go to the mechanical end of things. This car has 96,000 miles, as I touched on, and it had no record of having the 90,000 mile service done. So I wanted to do that because I believe that the car, any of these cars, needs to be up to factory standard. Valve cover gasket, spark plug, filter, fuel filter, MO block. The MO block is a fantastic product. And this is a 95, so it shouldn't have the immobilizer on it. So the immobilizer, let me tell you what that is. That is an antiquated security system deal on these 993s that disable the car from starting unless you follow a certain procedure or lock and unlock it with the remote, or frankly, I've forgotten exactly what it is other than it was a pain. So the MO block is something you plug in, I think behind the ignition or behind the headlight, something. It's in the dash. I had Charles, my mechanic, do it. But anyway, now the car starts right up. Every time you get into it, you can just skip the process. I'm super excited I did that. Now let's get into the real stuff here. The clutch didn't feel right. I didn't like it. We opened it up and it was super like dry. It had not been like greased, it seemed like. Rear main seal, it was weeping a little bit. And you just want to do that if you're starting to take the car apart. Pilot bearing, clutch lever, release arm bushing, belts. You want to do ignition wires, the caps, and also the brake fluid. I did the brakes too. So
all of that came to a grand total of $7,752.27.
if you were thinking about, oh, always got to carry a DME relay, by the way, extra belt too. So if you are somebody who's watching this video because you're thinking about buying a 993, this is what could go into it, even with a very well-kept example. As I told you, the rear wall needs to be done, the AC needs to be charged. But outside of that, I think it's ready to rock. So I hope that if you're a 993 person, you've gotten something out of this video. If you're not a subscriber, definitely subscribe. Make sure you click the bell so you're notified so that you're going to get the important update about this 993.